Welcome back, everybody, to Watcher of All Things. My name is Kiki, and this is my podcast where I talk movies, TV shows, and all things entertainment. And today, it's a very fun one. It's episode 96. We are finally talking about Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. I've been looking forward to this movie all year. I absolutely love the first Knives Out movie from 2019. I think there's something that Rian Johnson did with that movie that just works with my brain chemistry. It's a 2019 film, but I feel like I watch it once a year at least. It's just so damn fun, and I was very much looking forward to this one. Like, all the trailers really were promising to me. I didn't see it at TIFF, so I was really bummed, and I was excited to see it with a regular audience as well at the same time, and I saw it in a packed theater. We're going to talk all about my theater experience, what I thought about the movie, where it stands within the Knives Out trilogy, all that good stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun, but before we get to all of that, I hope you're all doing well. A couple things to plug before we get to the big review and the news of the week. I put out a new YouTube video this week talking about my childhood favorite movies, and basically the video is, do my childhood favorite movies hold up? Where I watched 5 movies from my childhood, not like super popular ones, but like pretty popular ones, and it was very fun revisiting those. So go check out that video live now on my YouTube. It was a ton of fun to make. Also, timestamps below. This is a murder mystery. Obviously, you don't want spoilers if you intend to watch this movie at some point, so be wary. Make sure you are looking at the timestamps below, where there's the news section, the non-spoilers, the spoilers, then what else I watched, where we're going to talk a lot of TV today. To be honest, I'm not really going to talk about any movies in the what else I watched segment because I was only watching the movies from my childhood video, so lots of TV to talk about, including season 5 of Stranger Things. But what do you say? Should we hop into the news? Let's do it. Let's talk the news of the week. All right, well, our first story, FX has ordered Far Cry anthology series based on video game franchise from Noah Hawley and Rob McElhenney, or Rob Mac, I guess that's what he's going by now. I didn't know if the Rob Mac title was official because in the Sunny credits for this season 17, he was still going by Rob McElhenney in the credits, so I don't know. Now, this is a big deal because the Far Cry video game series are giant. We've had several in my household. My brother was very into those games. I was never super into them. I tried, I think, Far Cry 5 or Far Cry 3, one of them, and I was like, okay, this is fun, but I could just never fully get into it. My frontal lobe wasn't developed enough, but I'm very excited to go back and maybe try and find some remastered versions if they have that on PS5. That way I can really get into the mood before we get a TV show. But this is really cool because it's a interesting team up with Noah Hawley, who just did Alien Earth, I think. He did Fargo, and then Rob McElhenney, who was in an episode of Fargo, or was he in an entire season? But obviously It's Always Sunny. He did the Mythic Quest on Apple TV, and then he's been like a little bit of a writer on other things. He was originally going to do the Minecraft movie, so clearly he's like a weird video game connection guy, but this could be really fun because each season, according to Deadline, will retain Far Cry's signature standalone storytelling format, with each season set in a new setting following a new cast of characters. So it's basically going to be, someone had a really hilarious tweet that was like video game White Lotus, or It's Always Sunny White Lotus, something like that. And it's true. I think it's really exciting that each season is going to be something completely different. I mean, it mostly worked with Fargo. I feel like there's been better seasons than others. I watched season 1, absolutely loved it, haven't gone back since, but it's like every year it's mentioned at all of the award ceremonies, and it's going to be cool to see Rob McElhenney sort of move into this other world. I feel like he'll definitely be a more humorous writer on this. I am curious like what his writing credits are on other things, because I've never actually looked that up, of like what's he been involved in other than Mythic Quest, It's Always Sunny. I feel like he's definitely worked on some other stuff, but like I said, the Minecraft movie was the big one to me that I was like, oh, he was supposed to do that originally, and then he had to step away from it due to creative differences or something like that. But Rob McElhenney is set to star in the show, so maybe he won't be a writer, or is he just going to be the star? Who knows? It would be really fun if he could be in the writing room and maybe, bring some humor to it or whatever. But our next story, another video game adaptation is coming to films, and it's interesting. Look, video game adaptations have always been a thing, but I think right now Hollywood's like, oh, what's the next like superhero genre? What is the next thing once superhero movies, die down a bit, which they kind of are? What is the next thing? Is it going to be toys? Like, is it going to be Barbie? Is it going to be Hot Wheels? All this stuff, Are we going to move into the toy live action version or the film adaptation of toy brands and IPs? Like, what is the next big IP we are going to mine after superheroes? Is it going to be video games? There's there's always been video game adaptations. There was a Super Mario Brothers movie in like the early 90s. I think it was 1993. I might be way off on that, but there was an Assassin's Creed movie before. But this story this week, Toby Wallace has become the first actor officially set as a series regular in Netflix's Assassin's Creed live-action series based on Ubisoft's best-selling video game franchise. Wallace is said to be playing the co-lead in the series, a high-octane thriller centered on the secret war between two shadowy factions. I have never played an Assassin's Creed game, but those games are giant. Like, growing up, obviously, I was a PlayStation owner my entire life. I've had a PS3, PS4, PS5. I had a PS2. That was my first like gaming system after my Nintendo 64, and these games have always been in the discussion of whatever Assassin's Creed is out. And obviously, we got the Michael Fassbender Assassin's Creed movie that did not do well, critically panned, like absolute garbage. People hated it. So I'm very interested to see how they could adapt it to a limited series, because sometimes I do think video games might be more set for limited series or series television instead of a film. It's hard to condense an entire video game campaign into one movie. Like, I feel like there's just so much stuff in video games that you do because you have to collect things, but that's not really motivating for characters. And like, I don't know, it's just The Last of Us kind of comes to mind in that there were certain episodes in season 2 that it's like, this very clearly feels like a slower side mission from the video game that they've adapted to the screen, but there's not enough motivation in it, where whether it's people, you know, hiding in like a dark big compound and you have to go around getting rid of all the guards or whatever it might be, you know, it's like it's very interesting video game storytelling, bringing it to live action or bringing it to the film or television space rather than just the video game console, because video games, so much of it is kind of you going around on your own, collecting little things, upgrading little things, doing little, almost, I don't want to say pointless tasks, but really like pointless tasks. Like, I always reference the Riddler trophies in the Batman Arkham games. Like, I fucking hated those Riddler trophies. Oh my god, some of them drove me absolutely insane. Arkham Knight, the racing the Riddler, the speed race, I don't think I've ever raged so hard at a video game in my life since those goddamn Riddler trophies, and I will never forgive Riddler for ever doing that. Okay, sorry, I'm starting to get fired up just talking about those stupid Riddler trophies, but I'm very interested in the Far Cry video game anthology TV series. I'm very interested in an Assassin's Creed limited series, or not even a limited series, whatever it's going to be. I mean, we had The Witcher, which was, no pun intended, was it just a video game, or was it also a book series, or what was it? I feel like it was just a video game. Anyways, but that's sort of taken on a life of its own because the creators did not want to adhere to the source material, and Henry Cavill did, and then that leads to creative differences. When I think if you're going to do these video game live adaptations, just do yourself a favor, stick close to the source material, because otherwise, like, fans are going to bail out pretty quickly. And I think The Last of Us season 2, as meh as I felt about it, I do think a lot of it stemmed from the show just genuinely being so different from the video game, and a lot of it being like not one-to-one. I don't know, and it sounds stupid to say out loud, not one-to-one basically transfers, because that's what a lot of people want from, and it's sad to say, from comic book adaptations or from video game adaptations, all this stuff. They basically want to say, oh hey, I love this video game, it'd be fun to see it in a movie format. And the general audience probably just wants a one-to-one transfer and be like, wow, that's cool, it's just like the thing I know. Because that's what, unfortunately, a lot of movies and television is right now. Entertainment is recreation, and people love recreation and dangling keys in front of your eyes like, ooh, that's just like the thing I know. I mean, we just talked about Wicked last week, all of the Wizard of Oz stuff in there. It even got me at certain points of being like, oh wow, that's just like the Wizard of Oz, this movie I have loved my entire life, and they're, you know, jingling keys in front of me, and it did get me a couple times of like, oh, that's so cool, that's just like the Wizard of Oz. And, you know, it's trying to distract you and hide the third ball under the other cup, or the second ball under the cup, to, you know, make you sort of not remember this is a piece of shit movie, and it's just like the thing that you remember, and playing on your nostalgia, you know. And that's what maybe these video game things are going to be. And I think for a long time, comic book movies were not that. It was all about making superheroes as grounded as possible and really bringing things into the real world, whether it's Nolan's, you know, Dark Knight films, or even Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. I think there are a lot of really grounded elements about that, and it's what really works, is it feels so relatable in our world. Or even Christopher Reeve's Superman was all about what if a man could fly, or you'll believe a man could fly, because it was Superman coming into our world. Versus now, maybe comic book movies are swinging in the other way, and they're really starting starting to do, we're going into the superheroes world. This is their own world. It's not like ours. You have to suspend your disbelief even further, at least in the DCU, and I think that's what the new Superman was. And maybe that's what video games are going to be, is now we're just going to fully lean into doing these games as accurately as possible, or whatever it might be. But I'm interested to see where Far Cry goes. I'm interested to see where Assassin's Creed goes. And are video games going to be like the next big things where it's just like mining after mining and adapting video game after video game? Who knows? I mean, I think superhero movies are in kind of a Western type thing right now, when, you know, all the rage used to be cowboy movies, and then the audience kind of just turned away because they started to become the same thing over and over again, and they kind of changed the market. And now it's the same thing with comic book movies. So anyways, a lot of that is just a big old tangent, but I think it's a very interesting place that we're in Hollywood right now. And media and entertainment are very weird things where people are kind of just looking for recreations right now and not a lot of original things. You know, I think that's why AI is so popular, is because people don't want original things. They just want to be like, oh, well, I made the thing I used to love, but in this format or whatever. And they want a computer to just like, it's like putting Snapchat filters on. It's like, oh, what if I was old? Oh, what if I was blah, blah, blah. You know, like, it's fun, but at the same time, like, it's nothing really original or hard work. You're just clicking a button for quick, almost junk food entertainment, or like fast food entertainment. And that's where art is maybe going to go, and everything being like shitty AI and all of this like fast rush stuff that it's just, oh, well, a computer plugged it in and we tweaked it a little bit because people wanted to see whatever it is, Schindler's List in Family Guy animation or Simpsons animation, you know? And I wish I was joking. That genuinely might be a thing that pops up on Twitter next week. I don't know. But anyways, speaking of ridiculous media turns, Rush Hour 4 has been officially greenlit at Paramount after encouragement from Donald Trump when he asked for Paramount to make this movie. Apparently he called David Ellison. He made a call out to David Ellison of some kind. I don't know if it was at a press conference, private email, private phone call. Basically, he was begging Paramount to make Rush Hour 4. So Paramount is teaming up with Warner Brothers to distribute. Brett Ratner, who coincidentally just made a documentary about Melania Trump, will return to direct. Now, Brett Ratner, if you don't know, he was a big-time director, and then in 2017, multiple women came forward with sexual harassment, lawsuits, and tons of stuff like that came out about him. He moved to Israel, and now he's like making films in Israel and hiding out there. Brett Ratner is directing this film after a long-awaited return, so it's very interesting, and I think it's kind of like Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. Are you guys really going to take this on? Like, is this not one maybe you say no to, or is the money just so good? And it's going to be one of the weirdest press runs ever if they actually do this film and they have to promote it like, oh, what brought you back? It's like, well, President Trump made a call to Brett Ratner and David Ellison at Paramount, and it's so weird. Again, the media space that we are in right now is so strange, with, you know, presidents making phone calls that they want sequels to their beloved 90s / early 2000s comedy series or whatever it might be. They're canceling late night hosts for going against their agendas or saying allegedly rude things, and it's just a very odd space we're in right now. But let's end on some great news. This is very fun news for me. Zootopia 2, which came out this weekend. I have not had a chance to see it. I might go next week because I actually really like the first one. I maybe want to rewatch the first one and then go see it. But Zootopia 2 is estimated to pass $520 million. Yes, that's $520 million in the film's global opening weekend. Not its entire run, not like a 10-day run. In just the Thanksgiving window for Americans, it's going to make $520 million. This is the biggest opening for an animated film ever. Could become one of the top 5 biggest opening weekends for a film ever. Holy shit. That is crazy. But I think, look, that is great news. And it's like, oh, that's so fun that, you know, yes, it's a Disney sequel. There's a lot of things that I'm like, yes, I don't like that part. I don't like that part. But I think it goes to show with the movie having such good reviews as well. I think it has like 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes, really good Letterboxd score. Kids' movies are also starving for respect and proper writing and attention and care. You get this live action Moana bullshit that I saw the trailer and is one of the worst things I've ever seen. You have Lilo and Stitch live action. Like, kids don't just want live action remakes. They want fun, well written, smart. If it is a sequel, write it smartly, make it feel like it's earned it. And it's been a while since the first Zootopia movie, so like, fair enough. They made a sequel. Tons of movies get sequels. That's how it is. But I think the critical consensus and the box office consensus shows that there is a market for kids movies still, that kids do want to be entertained. They don't just want to play on their iPad. Tons of people want want to see Zootopia 2. Tons of people are looking for these children, lighthearted family movies that are good options and don't suck ass and are going to be on Disney Plus in 2 weeks and aren't worth the price of admission. Whereas if you make a movie that's good quality, it's worth seeing it in theaters, just like the film we are going to talk about today. What a segue that was. Are you kidding me? Even though it's going to be on Netflix in 2 weeks, Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. Again, timestamps below. If you don't want anything spoiled for you, just listen to the non-spoiler section. We're going to have a really interesting discussion about Rian Johnson's third Knives Out film, but let's do it. Let's talk Wake Up Dead Man. Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, is a 2025 murder mystery comedy coming in at 2 hours, 24 minutes, directed and written by Rian Johnson, who you might know from Knives Out, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, as well as Star Wars, The Last Jedi, Looper, tons of stuff, including like Poker Face, which is a TV show that recently just ended and is rebooting we talked about last week. Reviews are currently very positive, 8 out of 10 on IMDb, 95% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 96% audience score, 4-star average on Letterboxd with a 4-star mode. The synopsis for Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. When young priest Judd Duplicity is sent to assist charismatic firebrand Monsignor Jefferson Wicks, it's clear that not all is well in the pews. After a sudden and seemingly impossible murder rocks the town, the lack of an obvious suspect prompts local police chief Geraldine Scott to join forces with renowned detective Benoit Blanc to unravel a mystery that defies all logic. The film stars, and if you know Knives Out, the casts are absolutely insane. Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, Josh O'Connor as Reverend Judge Duplicity, Glenn Close as Martha Delacroix, Josh Brolin as Monsignor Jefferson Wicks, Mila Kunis as Geraldine Scott, Jeremy Renner as Dr. Nate Sharp, Kerry Washington as Vera Draven, Andrew Scott as Lee Ross, Kaylee Speeney as Simone Vivane, Daryl McCormack as Cy Draven, Thomas Hayden Church as Samson Holt, Jeffrey Wright as Father Langstrom, Annie Hamilton as Grace Wicks, Carrie Francis as Tammy, James Faulkner as Reverend Prentice Wicks. That's James Faulkner? I did not even recognize him. That's crazy. Anyways, he plays Reverend Prentice Wicks. But my initial thoughts on Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. Guys, Rian Johnson has done it again. I thought this was, once again, Rian Johnson doing some wonderful murder mystery storytelling. It's fun, it's dark, and it's so damn smart. I actually had a blast. This feels like the deepest Knives Out film yet, and we're going to talk about why I think that is, but it feels incredibly personal, and I'm actually very excited for a rewatch because this could possibly go up my rankings in the films of the year. I think on a rewatch, I'm really going to cement whether I really like it or I really love it, but right now I really like it. Let's start with the performances as per usual. Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc. I mean, look, he's great. It's a deeply suspicious performance from him, which I loved because he feels so comfortable as Benoit Blanc, but I love putting him in this other arena where he very clearly has some personal history. And I think Benoit Blanc is very much meant to represent Rian Johnson in this film, of someone that is very skeptical of religion and clearly has a past with it and just doesn't love it anymore and is very against the idea. But there's so much interesting stuff for Benoit Blanc to really process here within the confines of religion. I think Daniel Craig is great. It's like genuinely just so A+ phenomenal in these movies. All three of them, he's so much fun. As for Josh O'Connor as Reverend Judd, he stole the show. He's the main character, the star. He's actually unbelievable, guys. Like, I don't know, is this my favorite Josh O'Connor performance? I don't know, because Challengers was phenomenal, but I think he is just so damn good in this. He had me from minute one. I was like, oh, I'm so invested in this character. And just like Ana de Armas in the first one, the second one, there's not as good of a hero to kind of follow along with Benoit Blanc, but this one, I was so into Reverend Judge. I was just like, yes, he is our golden boy. He is the perfect guiding light, like Ana de Armas in the first one. I really loved him here. I think he's doing some amazing stuff. There's one particular character moment we're going to talk about later that I was like, that might be the moment of Josh O'Connor's career. Glenn Close as Martha. I think she's a little bit of a caricature, but I do really like her in this movie, and she's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of really deep, there's a lot of deep stuff that they get into with her that is really indicative of the church and women like her that are within the church. Same with Josh Brolin as Monsignor Wicks. I actually loved him. This is a fantastic Josh Brolin performance. He is hamming it up. He nails the dark, annoying, evil priest that shames you about your life despite them clearly having some shady shit going on in their life and in their personal life. It's just, it's fantastic. I'm just going to quickly run through the rest of the cast because look, there's there's so many people in this movie, but we can't spend all day talking about just the performances. Mila Kunis as Geraldine Scott, honestly, forgettable. I didn't really love her in this movie. I thought she was a little bit stiff as the police officer that's kind of working with Benoit Blanc, a little bit rusty almost. Same with Jeremy Renner as Dr. Nate Sharp. I mean, it's very interesting that there are some people who are questionable in Hollywood within this movie, like Mila Kunis with the Danny Masterson stuff, and then Jeremy Renner, which just recently a lot came out about him being a bit of an angry drunk. This was his first movie after the accident where he almost died from the snowplow. He's fine in this movie. I think honestly he's barely trying, and it's very much feels like an acting exercise where someone's getting back into it. He was a lot less of the fun focus for me. All of his sort of comedic beats, I was like, okay, yeah, it's funny, but like I'm a little bit over the story beat already. He's a drunk doctor whose wife has left, so that's sort of the setup for his character. As for Kerry Washington as Vera, she has some really strong moments, but it only feels so deep because of the focus on Judd. I think she's a lawyer, or she's involved in like law somehow in this film. I'm pretty sure she's a lawyer, but look, she's just like really interesting because she's forced to stay in this town to look after her stepson Cy, who we'll talk about. But I thought Kerry Washington and her little moments where she's given the stage, really good. As for Andrew Scott as Lee Ross, I found him a little bit boring. Like I sort of just understood his character right away, but also I think Andrew Scott's American accent is not good. It's very British actor trying to be all generic. Oh, I'm from the United States of America, and trying to enunciate everything so nothing slips through. And I mean, he's basically just a disgraced writer who does the alt-right pipeline. I love that type of character, but at the same time, I just thought Andrew Scott's not really doing anything interesting with it, and the material's a little thin. Same with Kaylee Speeney as Simone. I think she's really good. Unlike Andrew Scott, I think she's really, really good. Sort of like Kerry Washington, where her character is really interesting, and what she's doing with that character is fascinating, but there's just simply not enough of her. Her character is a cellist who is partially disabled and has like chronic pain and has been in a wheelchair and is basically invested in the church because she's trying to get a miracle out of it. Daryl McCormack as Cy, he is this failed, he tried to be a politician and now he's back and he's sort of grifting through the church. And then we have Thomas Hayden Church as Samson, who is the groundskeeper. I thought he was really fun, actually. Big Thomas Hayden Church fan from Spider-Man 3, of course. That was my first discovery role of him as a child. But look, the supporting cast, I don't know. We're going to compare the supporting cast of the three films. I will say this one, it's very interesting that they all took this role because the roles are very paper thin, but at the same time, I think it's a very fun ensemble thing to be a part of. But let's talk about my theater reaction. I was shocked because I saw this at 6 p.m. on a Thursday. There were 2 seats left in my auditorium when the movie started. It was packed. People were so invested. The people beside me were so excited before the movie started. They were like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this all year. Like, I love that I only watched the first like teaser or whatever, and I really kept it. And then when Benoit Blanc first showed up, I heard some people go like, woo, or whatever. And it was really fun. There were lots of laughs. I think most of the humor landed. There were also some phenomenal jump scares and big gasps that I enjoyed. And it was really a good crowd to see this with. Now, I want to talk about Rian Johnson, though, the man behind these 3 movies. I think he's so wonderful, Rian Johnson. It's just like he is doing fun stuff here. It feels like an artist that has finally sort of found his rhythm. And it just feels like Rian Johnson is having such a good time crafting these stories for us that the audiences are really responsive to. Like, these movies have such flair, they have such flash, there's just such a strong vision to them that it's a little infectious, and it's hard not to have a good time watching these because it feels like an artist that's just like, I'm gonna give you the most entertaining 2 hours or 2.5 hours right now, and it's gonna be a fun little ride, and that's what it is. And I think some of the directing in this is fucking phenomenal. Okay, there's one shot in this movie that I have been thinking about since I saw this film on Thursday night. I'm not gonna say what the context of the film is, but there's a conversation happening on the like complete opposite side of this field or this courtyard or whatever, probably like 200-300 yards away, and Rian Johnson zooms all the way the entire 300 yards from like the furthest away shot that you can have, like a huge wide shot, all the way into the 2 faces. It's probably a 15-second zoom or a 10-second zoom or something, and it just keeps going and going as the conversation starts to go and like get a little deeper. And I was like, that was so baller. I love that so much. The long zooms, the snappy whips of the camera, and the intimate blocking is specifically within this kind of religious context where there is, confessionals and very intimate conversations going on about personal lives. Holy shit, Rian Johnson popped off, and the lighting and cinematography of this film, phenomenal. Steve Yedlin did the cinematography, and the lighting transitions in this film to go along with the thematics are just so good. good. Whether they're in a church and it's Judd talking about why he came to the church, why he wanted to become a priest, and you can see the light shining through the window on him. And then you have Benoit Blanc sharing his perspective, and all of a sudden the entire environment around them goes gray and it goes cold and it goes kind of lightless. He is not within the light of Christ or God or whatever it might be. It's just like it adds such a dimension to every scene when a director has such a clear idea of what the fun things they want to do, and they have a cinematographer with them that just gets that and is like, how can we get that? How can we light this? And even just like regular scenes where it's 6 people all conspiring together or having a conversation, the blocking choices or the shot choices of like, no, we're not just going to shoot left to right. We're going to break it up, and we're actually going to go from his left when he's looking to his right instead of just from his right when he's looking right. Like, it's just fun little choices that he's making at random moments. And I don't know, I grew up on Miss Marple, Poirot, stuff like that, the Agatha Christie things playing in my house because my mom loves that stuff. So these kinds of movies or these genre pieces of the murder mystery are not strangers to me. And it feels like Johnson is having just, again, the time of his life, bringing those kinds of stories that he loved as a kid to us. And look, the story and the writing, it feels very personal. Like I said, this is someone who is a recovering Catholic. You can tell Rian Johnson, he wrote the script, and you can tell this is someone who is angry or trying to figure out what the hell their religious experience or what their belief system is, and someone working through their belief system. And Knives Out has always been a way for Rian Johnson to kind of show his anger with the world. The first one, Eat the Rich and Nepo babies and all this stuff. The second one, absolutely Eat the Rich and how the rich profiting off COVID or whatever it might be. But this feels different. He's also showing a lot of understanding in this film, whereas in the first 2 movies, yes, there's characters that he's showing understanding with, but he's not understanding the system, or he's not trying to say, in the first 2 movies, he's not saying, well, capitalism also does some good, because it doesn't. In this movie, he's very indicative, he's very harsh, he's very critical of the church and the light and the darkness in the church, but at the same time, he is also rationalizing the existence for faith and belief, and he's not trying to present some kind of dogmatic view of, well, if you are to believe this lifestyle, then you have to believe the stories. No, he says there's, multiple times there's lines, kind of, I can't remember exactly, it's like we use these stories of untrue things to help us feel comfort or things like that, or to make sense of the things in our lives. And I really love that. And it's such a complex script that is really diving into the goods and the bads of religions, even within one church, and the battling factions of faith within those who, weaponize it, like Monsignor Wicks, who is very, very harsh of people that come to his church as newcomers, and he pities them. He makes them feel bad, so they abandon the church. And that's one, it's not a spoiler, that's just one key point of the thematics of the story, where Monsignor Wicks and all of the regulars that come to his church, he'll pick them out in a service, he'll blame them, make them feel like shit for their personal life choices and their mistakes so badly that they will leave the church after only one service, and then everyone else there feels better about themselves, including Monsignor Wicks. And that is what Rian Johnson is kind of getting at here, that a lot of faith and religion, not just Christianity, is making people feel bad about their life choices when you are clearly a sinful person. You've made bad choices in your life, whether they are biblical choices or not biblical choices. And it's very interesting how Rian Johnson is showcasing both people that are using faith to weaponize it for their own popularity, control, versus those who use it to heal, forgive, and turn a new leaf, like Reverend Judd, the hero of our story. So I just think Rian Johnson is doing so much interesting stuff within the confines of faith, religion, helping people, forgiving yourself, forgiving others. And it's very much kind of a rational / scientific versus faith film, because Benoit Blanc and Judd are working together on this mystery, as the trailers show, and how both can kind of equally help the world. There is space for all, really. And Reverend Judd is someone that came to the church because he made a mistake in his life. And I won't say for sake of spoilers, because it's very interesting to hear within the context of the film and how it builds on that. But it's interesting to see Benoit Blanc's sort of vision of the church, and he is immediately very bashful of it. It's kind of classic Hollywood, har, religion is dumb. But weirdly enough, this movie did, well, it's not weirdly enough, it makes sense. The movie really reminded me of Conclave, how Conclave is coming at the church in a very bashful, very dramatic, very diva energy type thing. But at the same time, it is highlighting a lot of the good that it can do in certain people's lives to help them through these difficult periods, and the grace that it gives some people, and sort of demystifying it all to say, look, at the end of the day, there is a significant chunk of people, maybe like 30% of people in faith, that are genuinely using it just to make themselves feel better and try to get through difficult moments in their lives. And that is not the dangerous form of religion. But then you have people like Monsignor Wicks or the Italians in Conclave who are trying to become Pope or whatever just to bash people and go back to conservative ways. You know, it's like those battling dualities or sort of a binary system. And that's what this movie is. It's kind of showing, I don't know, it starts out in a binary fashion of scientific versus faith, but then I think we move into much more of a gray zone of bouncing between the two. But look, I just think the story is so well written. Just loved how Rian Johnson is really pouring himself into this story and saying, look, I have been angry at this thing for years. I want to pick it apart. I want to talk about it. And he's really just going all in on this thing. And it's so wonderful to witness. And a lot like the horror film, and I saw some other people bring this up, Heretic, that came out with Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, and I can't remember the other actress's name. But look, as great as that movie may not have been, and I think it's like a little stale, the faith-based discussions about that and these different systems and how they operate and what they're actually used for and how they've evolved over the years, that's what's interesting to me, is the whole understudying factor, or the studying factor rather. And same with this movie. Like, yes, I love the murder mystery element, but really what I got out of this movie was this deep dissection, like I'm talking guts deep, straight to the bone dissection of religion, and especially within these small town American little places like this film has. And it was just so phenomenal to experience. I think, look, I have a lot of other stuff I want to say, but I just want to really drill how well written this film is from a thematic sense and what the sort of thesis is almost behind it, and how goddamn creative and driven Rian Johnson is with the Knives Out series. I think that's what I really want to drive across in this non-spoiler section. Is this is such a good exploration of religion in 2025 after Hollywood has for many years just kind of dunked on religion and immediately pushed it away as this dumb thing. Now, the question is, how does this stack up versus the previous two films? Well, I think Knives Out 1 is still obviously probably the best, and it's the original, and it felt so fresh and new, and it was a great new thing other than the Poirot films from Kenneth Branagh or whatever that are like, what if we just got this star-studded cast and did a whodunit murder mystery type thing? And I love Knives Out. I've watched it multiple times. It's so much fun. One of the best movies for me since like 2018. I love it. Such a crowd pleasing, fun Thanksgiving holiday type vibe. Glass Onion I have not watched since release, and I feel like there's been a little bit of a trend on social media recently of just dunking on it because it's like, oh, Hardy Har, it's a Netflix movie, it came out during COVID, blah blah blah, it's too frontal or it's too like forward with its ideas and it's a little stupid. I don't know, maybe it's not as good as Knives Out, but I do want to rewatch it because I did mostly enjoy it, but it's not as fun when you don't get to witness it in a theater. I saw the first one in theaters. Wish I could have seen Glass Onion in theaters, and maybe that's why people are so harsh on Glass Onion, is because it's only a theater or a home watch rather. Plus it was a COVID movie, and I think we're just in general not really ready to do films with COVID in them. Like Eddington, I think a lot of us really had bad reflexes to that film just because it's a COVID movie, including myself, whereas I think the story is really well written. But back to this film, I would probably put it in second behind Knives Out. I think it is genuinely better than Glass Onion right now. Almost as good as Knives Out the original, but I think there's a couple things I want to work through on a rewatch that I might enjoy more. Now, one big thing I did wonder going into this film is, are we going to get to know Benoit Blanc a lot more? Because the second film, find out he's married, he's having, cabin fever almost, and he's looking for a mystery, and he's bored of all these Zoom games, and I like that character step a lot. I feel like we do get to know him a little bit more, but not as much as I was expecting. There's no post-credit scene, there's no don't expect anything after the film ends, like it just ends, it's over, you can go home. I was expecting maybe something a little more from Benoit Blanc's personal life if we get to know him, but I kind of like that we don't. It's like, Benoit Blanc, you know what he's like, and I just think, I don't know, these stories, why am I not, moving this higher in my rankings? They're so like dialogue, detail heavy films. Well, not really. I think they're simple enough to follow, but okay, this was just my experience, and maybe it was me being a dummy and tired after work, but the stories are so wild that if you get stuck on one point or you kind of lose track of one of the details, you can kind of be held up and confused. And that happened to me when I got confused on one detail about Judd, and the rhythm was sort of thrown off for me. So that's why I think it's really important I do a rewatch, having known the whole story, and I can sort of step back and evaluate it in that way. But at the same time, twists and turns, all that stuff, is it too little, too much? Is it just enough? I think for this movie, it was just enough. I think, is the point of these movies that it's supposed to be a huge twisty turny surprise shock ending? I don't know. I think it's much more about the journey, and if you can guess who the killer is at the start, like I did. I immediately knew who the killer was. Maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, it is fun to be like, oh, I wonder who it's going to be at the end in the murder mystery, but sometimes it's just like more fun watching the detectives try to figure it out. Are these mysteries meant to be complicated? I don't know. One thing I will say that I'm enjoying about Rian Johnson moving from film to film and kind of putting his stamp on these stories is like, yes, the killers are a little bit complicated and crazy sometimes, but Noah Sagan, who's in this film, he's included in all 3 movies as a different character every time. So he's Trooper Wagner in the first one, he's Daryl in the second one, then he's Nikolai in the third one. And it's just like, again, a director having a little bit of fun, being like, let's put one of my friends in all 3 movies. And it's just a really good inclusion. And I think, you know, the casts overall are really interesting. The first movie, star-studded cast. Like, I mean, you have Christopher Plummer, Chris Evans, Michael Shannon. It's insane. The first one, Ana de Armas, it's her career best performance for me by miles, like miles and miles and miles. Really, No Time to Die and Knives Out are ironically her 2 best roles for me. But for the ensembles, I think I would rank maybe the ensemble the lowest in this one. I think the supporting cast is a little bit forgotten about and weak in this one, and that's why my rating isn't going to be higher. But I do really like the lead. I think Josh O'Connor is like, man, he might be like my second favorite character in this series. It might be like Ana de Armas, Josh O'Connor, then Benoit Blanc, or like Benoit Blanc is obviously the favorite because he's the main guy. But I would say, you know, the ensemble is a little bit weaker in this one, but I think we should move into 2 stars and a wish because I do want to jump into spoilers in a moment. So star number 1, it's just phenomenal storytelling with these luxurious, complicated, well thought out monologues that are just deep diving into amazing things in our lives. And it's just so much fun to experience. Star number 2, I think it is genuinely one of the best shot Netflix films in a while because this is a Netflix production. There is some major visual storytelling, like I was saying, with the lighting, with, I don't know, even names of characters is really interesting. The fact that this story takes place on Easter Sunday and so much is going on with the production of this movie, and yet Rian Johnson is just like making it so beautiful with his cinematography work and his collaborating and his even the lens choices and how everything looks, and there's so much depth and texture to all of the scenes, and I really loved it. My wish, just kind of fleshing out or giving more material for the side characters or certain side characters because they did feel a little bit paper thin. But look, overall, I've once again had a lot of fun with a Knives Out film. This one feels so much deeper than the others. Like, I think this is easily the deepest story of the 3. This one, even if it doesn't hit all the heights of the first one, it's super fun and I will absolutely be watching it again. I am giving Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery, 4 out of 5 stars. It is currently my 11th favorite movie of the year. It might be moving up on a rewatch, but let's jump into spoilers. All right, spoilers for Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. I want to start by talking about Judd's sort of journey with religion and honestly his kind of character path in this film. So Judd became a priest because he was young, he was a boxer, and he was fighting this boxer that he hated so much that when he was beating him in the ring, he kept actually pummeling on him to the point where he killed him. So he got in trouble, he was a young man, it was like manslaughter or whatever it might have been, and he said he actually killed him, and he openly admits to killing that man because he hated him. So he came to the church through hatred and through regret of the past and wanting to sort of absolve himself or forgive himself or fight for forgiveness every day. So I really like the framing of Judd as this character of light who is coming to religion from well-motivated place, and you actually kind of cheer for him. And because he is clearly good intentions and very well-mannered, he's a very nice guy, he's quiet, and he's someone that kind of doesn't take bullshit. That's why he gets kicked out of his normal church or whatever and has to go to this small town Monsignor Wicks run one because he punches a guy in the face and he gets in trouble. So Monsignor Wicks, though, what he represents, he's the complete opposite of Judd. He's sort of maybe not even that religious, or if he is, whatever, he clearly is not like, oh, I love religion because it gives us a chance to be better. Monsignor Wicks represents everything that's kind of wrong with religion in that he belittles people, he's belligerent, like I said in the non-spoilers, all that stuff, and he uses it to control the groups around him and the people around him and make his devoted faithfuls or whatever feel better about themselves by being harsh on others. So Monsignor Wicks is the one that is murdered and everyone thinks Judd did it, and it's a big whodunit, but then obviously it couldn't be Judd or something like that. And the little detail that did get me sort of hung up in the story is I really liked the opening probably 30 to 40 minutes of this movie is Judd telling the story of the murder, and he's clearly it opens with him writing something and Benoit Blanc reading it. So it's Judd writing telling the entire event or the entire timeline sort of in a story condensed for Benoit Blanc. And he admits in the letter that after Monsignor Wicks was killed, he stayed inside when everyone else was pushed outside with the police. He stayed inside for like another second, and he was the last one to leave the building. And that's when Benoit Blanc says, like, you were the last one in there. What were you doing in there? Blah, blah, blah. And you hid something. And it's because he hid the poisonous tranquilizer flask. And I was like, wait. I just got a little confused because I was looking around the theater like, oh, how are people liking this? And I was like, oh yeah, people are liking it. And then I was focused on one of the details in the costume or something like that. And it kind of drifted my mind. I was like, wait. Is he blaming Judd that he did kill him, or he didn't kill him, or that he took the fall for it and he wants people to think he killed him? So I got caught on that hurdle, and that's my own fault. Like, that's not at all the writer's fault. That's not Rian Johnson being unfocused or whatever. That was me being unfocused. But what's interesting is, like I said, Judd comes from a harsh background where he admits he killed someone out of hate. He comes to the church, good intentioned. He wants to do well in this new church where he is clearly being challenged by Wicks. And the group around him will not accept that, except one person, and that's Glenn Close's character, Martha. But everyone in that church community, there's like 6 or 7 of them or whatever, the regulars who are all on the poster, you know, everyone has come either because they are drawn there out of desperation, or they're being held there because of a fortune they want to get, like Martha. Martha was a child of that church with the Prentice guy, Father Prentice, and there was a family fortune. The original mother, Grace, who was Prentice's daughter, could not inherit the fortune because the priest hid it from her. She went insane, and she had her fortune hidden from her and tore the church down and beat Martha as a child. And that's supposed to be the big third act reveal or whatever, is that she told her, I know where it is and you're never going to get it. I really did gather, look, from the start of the story that it's going to be Glenn Close's character who is the murderer. In the end, she's going to be the one that takes down Wicks because of something. I didn't know who she was working with though, so that was a fun twist. I like that it's Dr. Nate in the end, but Martha's character in general is really interesting in how she seems like this harsh character, but she's not necessarily protective of Wicks. She's protective of the institution and the good that it can do by, you know, hiding this wealth from Grace, the original character. She's working with Father Prentice, but I do think this movie has a lot of really interesting commentary about the church's treatment of women and the different women's that can be in this community. And there's like a little bit of a spectrum or a scale of the women that are in these communities. You know, you have Kerry Washington's character who is essentially forced to be in this because she has a alleged stepson. But again, she clearly had big life plans to leave this community, but then she had to take care of her son and was forced to stay in this small town community. Then you have Kaylee Speeney's character who is a cellist, and she's continually donating to the church, almost all of her savings, because Wicks keeps telling her a miracle can happen. You know, so you have those people who are good intentions but are being taken advantage of. We have the writer who is, of course, the alt-right pipeline, who is like, oh my God, I'm going to be a newly reformed Christian or whatever, and I'm going to hide behind the cross so no one can criticize me. You know, a musician, a politician, a doctor, a lawyer. There's tons of people who are drawn to the church and are taken advantage of, are fully invested out of their own interest, like Cy, who is using it for his own political turn and needs a cause to kind of get behind because he wants to be powerful and rich, so he uses Monsignor Wicks for an online campaign. Or you have Dr. Nate, who is this piece of shit guy. He's a small town doctor, and he's clinging to the church because he's like, oh, my wife left me with the kids, I'm a drunk, blah, 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 and now he's all about the church, and it's sort of his last resort or his last place, his last refuge, I guess. But again, everyone in this church community, everyone, Rian Johnson is very clearly trying to give us a versatile story or a layered story where there's a lot of gray zone, you know? And I think Judd is such a great addition to that puzzle as the new younger priest that is like, well, we can make this into a real community thing because, you know, you've sort of forgotten about what faith is actually about in some ways. And it is very kind of refreshing. Look, I grew up in a religious household, you know, half of my family very Catholic, the other half not very religious. So I understand sort of the faith-based lifestyle in a lot of ways and stuff like that. I know a lot of the classic Catholic things, and it is a little bit refreshing to see a big tentpole Hollywood film or a big budget Netflix movie like this be a little bit more level-headed and actually interrogative of faith. And it's like, well, what is the good in this? What is the bad in this? And try to equally see those things with characters like Judd, you know, had a bad past, killed someone out of hatred, are very open about that, tell everyone that happened, and he's proud of it, and he's proud of how he's turned a new leaf, and he's trying every day to be a better person. But there's also the Monsignor Wicks, and Rian Johnson is doing a very good job of showing showing us both. Now, the big tonal shift in this movie that for me is Josh O'Connor's best moment as an actor so far, or what I've loved him in the most. Also, he does look like the guy from Ratatouille. There were several moments in the movie where I was like, oh my God, he's literally, what is it, Louis from Ratatouille? But the big tonal shift, we have this big scene of explosive dialogue where him and Benoit Blanc are getting so into the mystery of, well, who rented this machine to open the tomb and blah, blah, blah. And we have to get this lady on the phone from a construction company. My God, she's blabbing on the phone, and we see Benoit Blanc telling him, like, hurry it up. And Judd's like, yes, I know. And the tension just keeps building and building and building. And then all of a sudden, Louise, I think is her name, on the phone, she says to Father Judd, can I speak to you about something, or could you pray for me? And all of a sudden, you just see the color suck out of the room. Again, the color changing, and the music cuts out, and all the tension cuts, and all of a sudden, Judd is just like snapped back into reality, who Judd has been so entrenched in this mystery and has been having so much fun, or has just gotten so deep in the web of the murder mystery element and trying to help Benoit Blanc understand this community and solve it to absolve himself, as someone who is so focused on forgiveness after committing a sin or doing a bad thing in his past life, you know? But then all of a sudden, he snapped back into, oh yeah, I'm a priest. I'm meant to serve people. I'm meant to help people. And Luis on the phone is all of a sudden someone that is so desperate, who he was initially brushing off of like, oh my God, this chatty lady on the phone. And genuinely one of the most touching moments in the film, probably ever in a Knives Out film, where I was like, holy shit, this is another level of sadness. And it made me choke up a little bit that she's like, my mom's in a, what do you call it? It's where someone is going when they're dying. It's not a nursery, or it's like a hospice. Her mother's in hospice because she is dying, and she's going through a really difficult time. She just feels so lonely, and they're talking on the phone, and it's been like forever. Benoit Blanc is impatient, but you can kind of see Benoit Blanc starting to understand a little bit what he does and what faith can do. At the same time, as much as he doesn't love it, or he doesn't really condone it or whatever, he understands the good roles that it can do. And I thought that moment, like, if I could show someone one scene of why this movie is so good, I would show them just that one scene, start to finish, from them bursting into the office, looking through Eve's apple, all the way to the end where Benoit Blanc walks out of the office and Judd is still on the phone with her, prays for her. And it's just like this magical scene that is just so good, and just shows what Ryan Johnson's trying to talk about in this movie. And I loved it so much. I thought Josh O'Connor really sold the moment, and Luis on the phone was just fantastic. Now, a couple little intricate things, or a couple little story beats that I really did enjoy. I like that we don't see the actual jewel, the Prentice family jewel or whatever it is, until the very end. That this whole thing, I don't know what it is about murder mysteries. I just like when the thing that everyone is after is like an actual thing, whether it is the glass onion, whether it is this, you know, it's very fun to see like, oh, the treasured family jewel. It just adds such like a goofy sort of tongue-in-cheek element to the whole murder mystery thing. And I think it works really well here, of saving it to the end, and that it's like a physical thing that everyone is after. And another really good story beat that I was like, oh, this is fascinating, the use of Easter Sunday with Martha, Sam, and Dr. Nate's attempt to manufacture a miracle for the sake of keeping the church alive. Fascinating how, you know, viral moments and Dr. Nate and Martha are working together, but in the end, it's greed that takes over, that Dr. Nate, he wants the family fortune, and it's a good like final twist in it all of why Martha had to kill Nate, and she had a reason to kill Monsignor Wicks. And this final sort of like the big final swing where Benoit Blanc tells everyone, look, I can't solve the case, there's no way, everyone walks out, and then all of a sudden the light comes through the window, and he tells Judd, I know what it was, and he's waiting for Martha to come back inside. And it's almost like this final confession because Martha has taken the poison, and it's a really touching final scene where Glenn Close just gives this like super long, incredible monologue of her walking through the steps of the murder and the crime, and it all just ties together so damn well. I absolutely loved it. And it's like, again, rationalizing Judd's existence, that he's there to give people that have been living in pain forever the ability to forgive themselves or give them absolution in their final moments, no matter what they've done, that everyone can have a peaceful death, even if it is some woman that has been stuck in this church forever because of a family fortune and she's trying to hold the church together. I thought it was wonderful. That's all I have for spoilers on Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery. I liked how tidy the ending is, with Judd getting to keep the jewel and use it for the church and rebuild the church and open it again. And it's like him and Benoit Blanc keeping this little secret. 4 out of 5 stars, really fun. Let's get into what else I watched. Alrighty, what else I watched? Well, I did watch 3 movies that you will have to watch my YouTube video to hear me talk about. That they were Clock Stoppers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Agent Cody Banks. Again, go check out the YouTube video. I'll talk about them there. But we have 5 TV shows and 2 comic books to talk about. Let's talk about the comic books, starting with Thunderbolts. No Quarter. This was my very first Thunderbolts story that I've read. So the team is Venom, Punisher, Elektra, Red Hulk, and someone else. I feel like I'm forgetting someone else. Oh, Deadpool as well. Deadpool is actually very funny. But look, I liked it a lot. I've never read a Thunderbolt story, so I was like, oh, I'm curious what the team is like in the comics, because there's a million different interpretations. It's like the Justice League, it's like the Avengers. A lot of fun. I was weirdly like, oh, Deadpool is the best character in this book. He is hilarious, and he's weirdly the heart of the story. But after that, I read Union Jack, which is basically a British Captain America in some ways. Not really, because there's Captain Britain, but Union Jack, it's like I've never even heard of the character, so that was a fun part where you're like, oh, I have this Marvel comic that I got on Facebook Marketplace. Marvel character I don't know. Union Jack, he's this guy who is what's his name? Joey. He's the son of like a dock worker who has to take on the mantle of a hero, Union Jack, that Lord Falsworth before him, but his friend Kenneth was supposed to take over. His friend Kenneth is ill, so he can't take over, and it's kind of Joey having to step into this role. It's a lot of fun. I was expecting like, I don't know, very like pro-Britain, I love this country, I love this union, blah, 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 all this stuff, but it's really not. It's so like mythological and vampires and all this stuff and afterlife spiritual, which is just really fun. I'll have a social media video all about Union Jack if you want to hear me talk about it more there. But let's move into TV shows because we actually have a lot to cover. Let's start with Pluribus for TV shows, where I said I would stay non-spoilers, and what else I watched, and I will. I'm just going to say, I think they're doing a lot of really interesting storytelling where they're figuring out slowly what direction the dynamics are going to go in with this. Like, it is a hive mind overall, that's the setup for the stories, that Carol is basically against this hive mind, and it's fun seeing how the hive mind is a friend versus an enemy, and there's this big sort of abandonment storyline that happened in episode 5. So I watched episode 4, Please Carol, and episode 5, Got Milk, and in episode 4 we meet one of the other survivors who wasn't affected, and he is a little bit like Carol in that he doesn't like interacting with the hive mind, and that works really well. And then in episode 5, Carol has done something and she's sort of left to be on her own, and we get to see her a little bit more isolated. And it's funny how a character is so used to telling people to leave them alone, leave me alone, I don't want to be bothered, blah, 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 all that stuff, and then all of a sudden they are left alone. How do they act after that when they finally get what they've wanted? And it's a little bit of like, that grass is always greener, and it's like, it's better to be around people that are toxic positivity rather than just by yourself and stay in your negativity. But anyways, episode 4 and 5 of Pluribus, super entertaining, very curious where it's going to go. The Chair Company though, episode 7, I believe we have one more episode. I think this weekend is the finale. A fantastic second last episode where it feels like there's so much setup and they have ruined it for another season. So Ron has pushed his boss, he's been fired, but he's also finding these used shirts that this store is repurposing, and it's just like so many layers and layers and layers that are going on here. And I like that we do get a big reveal about Tekka in the second last episode, that it's not just leaving everything for season 2. We do find out Alice, who is basically his wife's investor for her company, is responsible for Tekka and is almost like running Tekka. So Barb also knows that Ron has been doing this huge deep dive investigation, and it's just every layer is so funny, and yet the drama really does work. Like it's actually a well-written drama, as ridiculous as the hijinks are and ridiculous as some of the sketch moments are, but you gotta watch The Chair Company. Let's talk about Survivor season 49 though, because episode 10, a huge dose of bamboozle. Very entertaining episode with a lot of twists, turns, people flipping on each other, a big blindside happening, and I'm trying to sort of mind map what's going on with the season of Survivor. Is everybody absolutely terrible at the game except Savannah and Rizzo, or is everyone like kind of okay and maybe all Survivor players are just at the same level now, but Savannah and Rizzo are just that good? I feel like it's probably the first one, in that everyone is just very bad on the island, but Savannah and Rizzo are playing so hard that they kind of have the game wrapped up. So Savannah used her extra vote this week. They flipped it onto Jawan. It is sad that Christina used her idol this week for absolutely nothing. She played it on Steven, but the votes were flipped anyway because she voted for Rizzo, and then the other 3 members that she was working with voted for Savannah. They didn't even need to use Rizzo's idol. The Rizzo using a fake idol moment was pretty funny, and I feel like people are saying, oh, well, it's a showboat type thing. I don't think it is. I think it is a moment where he's like, yes, I want to entertain a little bit, but I do think he was trying to gauge people's reaction if he should play the real thing. Although, I don't know, I've heard some arguments that like, well, it doesn't really make sense anyways because they had the numbers with Sophie voting with them. Actually, both Sophie's and Savannah's extra vote, they had 5 votes locked in or 4 votes at least locked in. So it could have been a tie at minimum. But look, it was a pretty entertaining episode. I think it was maybe the best episode of the season with Juwan getting so blindsided. Savannah just taunting him the entire time that Jeff is reading the votes. Like, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this to me? I don't understand people that are hating on Savannah because for the entire new era, people have been whining about my generation and younger people being so soft and, oh my God, everyone just wants to be little snowflakes and be loved and cuddled and blah, 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 all this stuff. Everyone on Survivor is such a game bot and they all want to be best friends. Then you have Savannah coming in who, like Rizzo, is full of energy and full of strategy and wants people to know I want to win and like I'm going to do anything to get past you. And she's a villain and it's entertaining. She's one of the most entertaining players of the new era for me because she's so in your face. Like even this, just that Christina interaction she had where Christina's like, hey, so like, what are you thinking? And she's like, who are you voting for? She just immediately asks her, who are you voting for? And she keeps pushing her. Christina's like, whoa, I need a second to think about this. It's like, you're on Survivor. It's time to play. So I think Savannah, all-star player. She is probably in the top 5, top 10 easily of new era players. She's so direct. She's so in your face. Yes, it's going to rub people the wrong way. Probably it might even cost her in the end because of how new era players are, that they're like, oh, it's more of a, I like this person. And it's not actually a, who was like the most hardcore player, you know? So we'll see what happens in the end. Maybe it gets Rizzo more votes if it's, say, Blue Sophie, Rizzo, and Savannah in the finale. It might get Rizzo the most votes because people are like, oh, he played hard, but he was respectful. He was a little bit arrogant, cocky at times. I think Savannah's so entertaining. I love Rizzo. I love Blue Sophie. Yellow Sophie, very much growing on me. So it was a good week for Survivor 49. I was surprised Juwan went home, but look, if you keep playing the middle and flipping every single episode, it's gonna bite you in the ass, and it did. Next, I watched The Batman Season 1 episodes 15 and 16, where we finally got one of the Riddler episodes. A lot of fun. I distinctly remember how creepy that Riddler was as a child with like his bodysuit, his cane, but then he has his little visor thing, the long black hair. It's very like gothic. Then there was another episode that was a Winter Firefly, Mr. Freeze team up episode that was a lot of fun. Again, I'm just kind of chugging through these episodes every week, hoping to finish it by maybe summer or like April or something like that. Who knows? But the final thing I do want to talk about today, and I'll talk about it for a little bit longer, is Stranger Things Season 5, Episode 1 and 2. I watched the first 2 episodes last night, and I'm going to finish the final 2 episodes of Volume 1. I'll make a video on Tuesday, put it on my social media if you want to hear my entire volume thoughts. But so far, it's okay. I think I have it at like a 7, 7.5, 6.5, somewhere in that range. It's just so interesting coming back to this series because I feel like we've really moved past the Stranger Things aesthetic, the model, all of that stuff, these characters, this storyline. Like I feel like the world has really moved on. We've moved on past the 80s nostalgia, the neon lit smoky mirror stuff, and it's kind of become this like almost MCU Disney Plus type show with just so much CGI, obvious green screen, big character epic introductions, and all of the actors, again, I hate to harp on this, they're all too old. They're all in like their late 20s to mid 20s playing, 15, 16-year-olds, and it's so hilarious watching them at times because it's like, that is a 28-year-old man playing a 16-year-old, clearly. The mystery part and the story part is fun at times, but it just feels incredibly overwritten. Like every episode is an hour, and I'm no Vecna to longer forms of media. I love a 3-hour movie. Pluribus has 1-hour episodes or 45-minute episodes, but it always feels very earned and kind of necessary because we are seeing the slow brewing thing. Whereas Stranger Things, it just feels like everything is so drawn out and every scene is like epic bag slamming on desk, zipper flying open, and it's so over edited and stylized and so 80s. And it's like this kind of theme or this kind of thing is gone, and it's more in commercials. Like it all looks like it's shot in commercials. That is very much how commercials are shot now, with this like neon kind of hazy thing. 10 years ago, it was very clear that this was meant to be a limited series, and I was just talking to my girlfriend about this morning, how it does feel like they are making it up as they go along. And these guys, the Duffer Brothers, are such liars, saying, oh, we've had this idea for 10 years. Oh, we've had this idea for 10 years. Or, oh, we thought of this in season 2. It's like, you guys are very clearly making it up as you're going along. I think, honestly, the writers have outgrown this world. world. The actors have gone down significantly in quality. Like, I think a couple of the actors in the show are genuinely terrible, like so bad, and the dialogue is just awful. It's reminding you every single scene of what they're trying to do. Everyone's constantly asking, so wait, what do we have to do again? And it really does break my heart, because Maya Hawke, for instance, one actress, I really like Maya Hawke. I think she's great. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Thought she was really fun in The Phoenician Scheme. Was it The Phoenician Scheme or Asteroid City? Either one. I thought she was really good in the Wes Anderson film that she was in, and I have a very good like sort of painting of her as an actress. I think she is awful in season 5. She is so like quirky, millennial, young, cool, hey, what's up, kids? And it's just so, I'm over it. I'm over how these people are written. I'm over these character dynamics. It feels like so many of the relationships that they're like, oh yes, we're finally going to reunite these people in season 5, just like we did in season 1, but I haven't seen them interact properly in like 4 seasons, so it feels unnatural. Like, I forgot that Mike and Nancy are brother and sister last night while watching. I was like, oh yeah, they're related. Oh, okay. So I don't know. I have a lot of very complicated feelings about Stranger Things, because I just think it's like so past its expiry date, and I think a big theme in shows right now is like shows that stay too long after the audience is kind of gone. Clearly the audience isn't gone, because it literally crashed Netflix when it posted at 8 p.m. or it went live or whatever. So the audience is there. I'm still going to watch the rest. Of course I'm going to watch, even though I wasn't that excited, but it is like this big cultural staple type thing that I'm going to check out over the next 2 months, because it comes out like New Year's Day and like Boxing Day, as well as American Thanksgiving this weekend. So lots of stuff coming, including Stranger Things, other TV shows. It's a big season for big Oscar time movies, but for now, that has been what else I watched. And in fact, I think that's going to do it for episode 96, Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. I had so much fun with this movie. I feel like I blew through my review because I just had so much I was sort of gushing about with Rian Johnson and the writing, but it really is that good to me. Let me know what you thought of it. And as always, please rate and review the show 5 stars wherever you get your great podcasts, like Watcher of All Things, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or Acast. We are, of course, an Acast produced show. On Spotify, you can leave a comment right underneath the episode. Let me know what you thought of Wake Up Dead Man. What are you watching right now? What do you think of Stranger Things season 5? All that good stuff. Get in touch with me. If you're on the YouTube channel, hit like, subscribe, comment down below. Same thing. I want to hear from you, and check out my new Do My Childhood Favorite Movies Hold Up video. It was a lot of fun to make. If you want to get in touch with the show, you can also email us, watcherofallthings@gmail.com, and find me on social media. Instagram and Threads are just at Watcher of All Things. The TikTok account is at watcher.of.all.things. You can also follow my personal Letterboxd account, KikiJ70. That's KIKIJ70. Follow me on there. Drop a comment under one of my reviews that you found me through the show, and I'll follow you back. Let's build a little community. I post on social media all the time, so check out all of those links. Like, I make videos specifically for social media every single day. It's a lot of fun. But next week, a little bit open, because there isn't really new releases next week. A lot of stuff came out this week, like Train Dreams, Hamnet, Jay Kelly is playing in some different places. So I'm thinking for next week, I think it'll be Train Dreams. I'm excited to talk about that, because I think Oscar season, it might be a little bit of a dark horse. It might be Hamnet. Let me know down below which of those you'd prefer. If anyone comments, I will definitely just cater to what they would wish, because I am seeing Hamnet. I'm going to watch Train Dreams, but that will do it for today. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all for the kind messages and the love I get every single week. It's so much fun hearing from you guys. It really does like make my day when I, get a message from someone, even being like, oh, I disagreed with you and I really enjoyed this thing. I don't really care. It's just like, it's fun engaging and hearing people and building a little community, but that's going to do it for now. Thank you all so much for listening. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.